Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to Techweek TV, brought to you by Callaghan Innovation. We're here in Dunedin today, and it's my huge honour to be joined by some incredibly impressive women in creative technology. This session today is on creative women in tech. Today I'm joined by Zoe, who's the Managing Director of Runaway Play. Thank you, Zoe, for being here. Bex, the founder of Firebrand, and Katie, who is the Arts Coordinator at St Hilda's Collegiate School. So thank you so much, ladies, for being here. My name is Jake Miller. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Unfiltered, and it's a huge pleasure to be hosting this session today. So to kick this off, I'm just keen to understand a little bit more about all of your stories and what you sort of spend your days working on and your businesses in different fields. And so maybe kicking off with you, Katie, just tell us a little bit about what you do at St Hilda's. And
sure. Yeah. So my role at St Hilda's is really working with the students on supporting their arts curriculum. But prior to that, I was involved in a project that was also working with young people, but supporting a program that was supporting the digital technologies curriculum into schools. Okay. And so I think across both those, I really see the way that the students I'm working with in the arts, how they're interacting with technology as well. And I think a lot of what I learned from my previous role has really informed the way I think about technology in relation to the arts students.
Absolutely. And how are you? What are the biggest changes you're noticing in terms of these students and how they're interacting with technology?
It's the hugest thing is how the students aren't really seeing themselves as either into this or into that. They're really, they see technology as integrated across their lives. Yes. And I think that's something that their generation just really takes for granted, which I think is really encouraging. Yeah. For example, there's the girls on our RoboCup team are all, like a lot of them are heavily involved in the arts as well, and they're some of our most talented students across the board, and they're getting involved in technology things as much as they are in other things.
The collision of these worlds, right? And Bex, I love the name of your company, Firebrand, helping grow brands with attitude. Tell me more about this, how you started it and where it's at today.
So yeah, Firebrand is turning 10 in July.
Awesome.
Started at the exact same time as the iPhone 3GS was launched to the New Zealand market. So that wasn't planned, that was really by mistake. And so yes, we are a digital transformation agency and a team of 13 amazing people, all here in Dunedin, delivering solutions across New Zealand and also internationally as well for some of our clients. And well, how it started was recognition that the internet was certainly what I wanted to be a part of in my future.
Yeah.
And as we've grown, we have realised that the real why is to continue to provide opportunities for young people to have jobs in our industry in Dunedin.
Yeah, and what project that you've worked on over those 10 years are you most proud of?
The single most proud project would be Youth Employment Success.
Yes.
It's a program that offers young people opportunities to connect with employers and feel their way through that process of, is this for me, and how can it become my future? We've got a group of 80 amazing employers here in Dunedin and another 20 in Gore that support our young people to nurture them through that process of becoming who they want to be.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. Yeah, and Zoe, it's fascinating to read more about your story and the managing director of this company of 27 people, over 1 million people a month are playing your games. Tell me more about how you got involved in this industry and what your vision is.
Yeah, so I actually come from a film and television background. I hadn't worked in games or in tech previously, and I actually didn't really think of myself as a particularly creative person. Kind of thought of myself as, I tended to fall into those sort of producer roles of getting things done and being the organiser, but I never really felt like I was very creative. And I kind of got into games because I had done a lot of work in film and TV and decided that I was really interested in an industry with a slightly different business model, and also in the way that digital media could engage with an audience and have more of a two-way conversation.
Yes.
So that was kind of what drew me to games. So I joined Runaway 4 years ago, but Runaway's been around for 10 years, and then I transitioned into the managing director role.
Yeah.
And we're making mobile games inspired by nature, which is a really fun space to be working in, because all of our products connect to the natural world, but are also very much entertainment focused products, so people play them to relax and to take a bit of time for themselves, but also get to learn about the natural world. So that's pretty fun business to be in.
What's your favourite place in nature to go to get your creative inspiration?
The beach.
The beach.
Always the beach.
Right.
I'm learning to surf. I'm really excited about it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Is it cold down here surfing, or is there?
Yeah, you definitely need a wetsuit.
Right. Yeah. I grew up in Greymouth, and we used to go swimming in the beach there, and it was pretty cold, pretty icy as well. Just a very broad question for all of you: what is creativity?
It's a really interesting question, I think, because depending on the context, people will have different answers. I was talking to a student before coming here, and I said she's someone who has got broad interests across and is interested very much in physics and technology as well as the art side. And I said, how does your creativity impact on your science and your maths?
Yeah.
And she said, it comes into the problem solving and the coming up with new hypotheses, and tackling algorithms in different ways, and formulas in different ways, and being able to hypothesize about something new and come up with a new idea and then try it out. And that's as applicable in the sciences as it is in the arts. And so for her, that was the big connection. And I think often creativity is when we think about creating things, it's about something that wasn't there that now is.
Yes.
And that applies in so many contexts. Being
sure.
able to visualize something before it comes into reality, I think, is a lot of what creativity is centered around. It's that capacity to bring something into reality that didn't used to be there.
Yeah.
And we need that everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny because, like I say, I didn't think of myself as being like a creative person because I didn't see myself as bringing things into the world that weren't there before because I'm not artistic or I'm not, creative in that way, but I do bring things into the world in the way of like making things happen and working with a team and being able to problem solve. So I totally agree that it doesn't fit into one camp. It's like it can be very broad.
Yeah, I see my role being creating the environment for the team to be creative and deliver those customer experiences would be our primary focus around solutions.
And every agency, I guess, is trying to attract the best, most creative people. What's been your strategy for getting the very best people to come and work at your agency?
So Firebrand is pretty well known for working hard but playing hard as well.
Nice.
And celebrating all of the amazing things that as a team we've done, but also celebrating the individuals and the role that they play in those things. We can't do anything that we do alone, but there are some very special skills that each individual person brings that I think really important to celebrate that and highlight.
How did you build that culture?
Well, I knew that was the culture I personally wanted to build.
Yes.
So I have worked in other places, of course, and took the good bits and recognised the bad bits.
Yeah.
And was able to create my own melting pot, I suppose.
Yeah.
And attracting young people and talent to our organisation is solely about celebrating the good things that they bring.
Absolutely. And Zoe, for you, how do you sort of foster like the most creative environment at your company? Like, how do you get people thinking creatively, coming up with the best ideas?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of different factors that play into that. I think that autonomy is really important, and it's something I think we do really well at Runaway, where we really trust our staff to make decisions and to experiment with things, and for that to be completely like encouraged and a good thing, even when things maybe don't work out how we expect. So autonomy, I think, is probably really important for us in terms of being able to encourage our staff to be creative and also not expecting things to be perfect, like being completely fine with failure, because from anything that doesn't go right you can find something else, or you can learn something, you can take something away. So I think those things are really important, and I also think that flexibility is really important. And so one of the things that we do at Runaway, which I think helps encourage creativity, is that we are pretty flexible with people's roles and what they do within their roles. So if somebody expresses an interest in becoming more involved in a different part of the business, we do our best to facilitate that so that they can kind of experiment and learn and grow in that way. And I think that is really helpful for creativity as well.
Keeps people inspired on the journey, right?
Yeah, and means that for me, a big goal with Runaway is that I don't want anyone to have to leave Runaway to move up their career path. I want them to be able to do it within the business, and the only way to do that is to be able to let people experiment and find the things that they love and that they're really good at, and then shift them into those sorts of roles.
That's great advice, And for all of you, what have you found to be the difference in fostering like creative spirit in women versus men? Like how do women respond differently when it comes to building these creative environments? And also like it's an interesting question, but I'm just the focus of the panel being sort of creative women in tech. What insights would you say are unique to women in creative fields?
I found that naturally the women in our industry anyway, and in my organisation, they are naturally more collaborative. They want to work together around table, and maybe we need shares and sticky notes and things like that, because there is a natural tendency to that. And part of my role is actually to bring our young men along for that journey as well, and show them the great things that can come out of being collaborative, not force them into it because it's not necessarily what they want to be doing, but I think there's great benefits from them understanding the positives that our young ladies bring too.
Yeah, do you think that's just because men are more competitive, do you find?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, I can imagine, And what have you found in terms of the girls you're teaching?
I think I might just throw back to my previous role where I was working on this, on a team that was helping to launch this digital technologies in schools program, and it was a creative team. There were actually mostly men on that team, but I think what was interesting was that the women on the team, it was almost as if we felt we needed more of a mandate to be doing creative things. So sometimes the men would jump in and do stuff and say, I want to do that, I want to do that. And sometimes the women on the team would hang back and go, oh, is it okay for me to have this different idea? And were sometimes more afraid of failure. Not universally across the board, but at times there was that sense in which all of us girls on the team responded, well, women on the team I should say, responded really positively to being given a very explicit mandate. You can try this. We need to, let's think outside the box, let's do this in a different way.
We've been taught to be polite, I think, and to step back and wait our turn. And but it's not the case. We need to be putting ourselves forward, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really agree with that. I mean, I personally don't really think there's any major difference within the stuff at Runaway between creativity between the men and the women, but what I would say is that I think that we really I think that often, like you say, women are taught to be polite, to wait our turn, to,
excuse me.
Yeah. So I think there's a real mandate on us, as people in positions of leadership, to say yes to women really loudly and really clearly, so that we can start to break some of those, habits of waiting to be told to go ahead and do something, and just encouraging women to go for it and to, be really self-confident in their ideas and not to wait. So that's definitely something that I am conscious of.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me asking, what's kind of the gender split at both of your companies?
Yeah, so we are aiming for gender parity. We're not quite there yet. We sit a little under. So, but that's definitely our goal. So I think I haven't counted recently, so we have 27 staff, and I think we have like 11 women.
Oh wow,
around
that's great though. Yeah, and
50-50.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, collision of different ideas and perspectives, and I guess women, I think, I think most people would agree, like generally more creative and have, often better there's different types of creativity obviously, but women are exceptionally creative. So why have we gotten to a place, do you all think, where women are kind of underrepresented in creative technologies?
Sorry. You go.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's just that women are underrepresented in tech, and there's a lot of things that comes back to with, there's all these studies that kind of show that really young girls see themselves as being really good at sort of science and maths, and they hit an age and suddenly they start saying, no, I can't do maths, I'm not good at science, and there's this like underlying social pressure, and I mean there's so many factors that come into it. I feel like you could
I mean there are so many, and I think some of the factors which I guess I again speak to both things. So in my current role, I see these young women who are super confident. I'm going to make robots and excel in choir, and I'm going to do all these things, and there's no issue for them because they haven't reached that point where where they even perceive it as being an issue. But I think in my previous role, what was really interesting, because part of my role was supporting the bicultural element of a project rolled out to support digital technologies, and exploring the bicultural elements, there were some similar things where there was a barrier to entry that was around a perception of tech roles not being connected to the land and stewardship of the environment, and really found that, or people not connecting it to their own heritage. And I think real fundamental realities, which is that technology is in all our cultures since the dawn of time. We've constantly been doing technology, and that is part of all of our heritage, and there's a very special heritage with that in our land. So that's one thing that we needed to emphasize in those stories, and then also really emphasizing that stewardship of our environment, technology is critical to that.
Absolutely.
And so really helping people to understand that careers in technology do connect to their passion for community, their passion for the environment, their passion for doing something that makes a genuine difference in the world. And I think some of those connections, people, at least in my generation, I felt we weren't perceiving them when I was at school. Certainly, I thought if I wanted to make a difference in the world, I wasn't going to go into IT. It wouldn't have occurred to me. And that had less to do with being a woman per se, and more to do with being someone who is just passionate about life and contributing.
Yeah, and what is all of your view on obviously inspiring women such as yourselves who are leading the way in this field is one great way to inspire other women, but maybe who don't see like technology as a field, and to get more women into technology. But what's all of your advice, I guess, in New Zealand and the system about how we can encourage more talented young women to get into these creative tech fields?
I think educators and families, for starters, play the number one role in this. We're seeing it outside of the female-male split, but the skills shortage with regard to trades and manufacturing and engineering. We've told our young people that those aren't career options, and therefore now, how many years down the track, we're now facing a shortage. The same thing has happened in education. We've told our girls that they should be nurses, whatever female gender stereotyped jobs there are. See, my brain doesn't work that way, so I can't even think what they are. We need to demonstrate, and as leaders, we need to be in front of our young girls and showcasing who we are and what we do. And be honest that our pathway may not have been one straight linear line, that we've all been in different places and experiencing, and that's what we bring to tech as well.
Absolutely. Any
is
of your
our
mums?
femininity.
Yes.
Mums of daughters?
And, yes, I have two daughters.
Right, okay.
And I completely agree with what you're saying, Bex. I think it starts at home. It starts with the way that I talk to both of my girls. It starts with me celebrating and encouraging them in maths and telling them how great at it they are, because already my 8-year-old is saying that she's bad at maths. She's not. She's not at all, but that's already from somewhere. This kind of perception is like creeping boxes, in.
Right?
And she did a self-defense class recently, and came home with this big sheet with all these like really positive statements on it, and most of those were really cool. But the one that made me really sad was one that said, "We aren't what you think we are." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she said, "Oh, that's aimed at the boys at my school." And I said, "Oh, well, what do they think you are?" And she goes, "They think I'm weak." And I'm not, but even the fact that she's saying, the boys. So there's all of this there, and I think that as a parent, I am so conscious, and I'm sure I'm stuffing it up all along the way, but I'm trying really hard to be conscious of encouraging both of my daughters that they are great at all of those sort of STEM-sided things, so that to try to offset any other messages that they're getting. I think, it comes down to so many different angles, but we can do that as parents. And then in schools, I absolutely see there being a responsibility there. There are people my age who I know talk to their career people when they were at high school, and so I'm like 35, I think, and talked to their career counsellor at high school and got told, oh no, you can't be an engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Go be a hairdresser.
Right.
No.
Do any of you have sons?
I do.
How do you bring your sons up to encourage the women around them?
I teach them respect for women, and I also have a daughter as well.
Okay.
So my learning is very much focused on balance, of course, but shared roles. And just because she's a girl doesn't mean that she does the laundry. She needs to be doing the manly exercises and things as well. And I think it's really, really important. My son, his favourite colour suddenly is purple, and that's embraced. Yeah. There's no colour differentiation or anything like that.
That's awesome.
Really important.
Yeah, what about the girls at school? How do you inspire them?
Yeah, I think a girls' school is a unique environment in that sense, and that I think a huge amount of the education there is focused around empowering them and supporting them to, have a louder voice in their head than some of those other messages. And I think that's something that, as a relative newcomer to that environment, that I've seen is really strong. I think so often, though, it's about getting to a point where we're just comfortable with the personhood of all other humans, and where we don't freak out that people are not the same as us. And that we can get really excited to be in a team with someone who has a different perspective and can balance us out, and that we create together more than what we could alone. And I think that across so many things, that are happening in the world recently, all kinds of stuff, you think if we could just, listen to people and be interested in what they have to offer, even when they're coming from a different point of view. And I think when it comes to boys and girls, it's that sense of the people around you, male, female, non-binary, whatever's going on, have stuff to offer that's interesting and cool. And let's just kind of do that and not freak out.
No, it's such good advice. And just finally, conscious of time, are there any sort of trends you're noticing in creative tech? What do you think the next 10 years hold? What are sort of the growth areas, the things that you think people should be keeping on top of?
Very briefly, because these ladies will have more to say. I think for me, I'm really excited about the ways in which technology integrates across every industry. And I think for me, I'm looking ahead, transferring into fashion and manufacturing industry, and really interested in the ways technology will support that. But it's for students, it's the same thing. Technology is integrated into everything. So I'm really excited to see the way people embrace constant innovation across a whole lot of industries, and stop seeing it as the tech industry, but just see it as life that has technology.
And tied into that is technology delivering an experience, I think, is where we're going.
Absolutely.
I don't really know what to add to that, because I think that's a really
good summary.
Good summary.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, so much. That Zoe, Bex, Katie, thank you so much for all of your insights, wisdom. I think incredibly inspiring for people watching this to just I think, like, obviously, as you say, as the purpose of this session is about, women are underrepresented in this field, which is sad, because there's so many amazing women have so much to offer, and if we can inspire more young women to believe that it's possible and to get into these fields and really make success of it, as you all have, then that's a really positive thing. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to the viewers for tuning in today on Techweek TV. We're here in Dunedin today all day at I'm going to look at the sign, Signal ICT Grad School, which thank you so much to the Signal ICT Grad School for hosting us. Thank you so much to Callaghan Innovation for sponsoring today's session, and continue to tune in throughout the day. We'll be back shortly with the next session. Thank you so much.